Quite often, if we're involved in a serious discussion, someone will make a statement which we might want to agree with to some extent, but we feel there is another point of view, or that they haven't got the whole picture. We find ourselves saying, yes, but. You might describe our position as members of the church in the same way. Yes, we have been saved by the redeeming work of Christ, but we are still living in this world which shows little sign of being saved. Or to put it in the context of the readings we hear during Lent, yes, the whole of salvation history was leading towards the triumph of Christ, but he still had to suffer death on the cross before he could rise again. Today's reading the first reading shows us the promise given to Abraham, I will make you a great nation, full of promise and a rosy future. But they also give us an incident from the gospel which gives us and the disciples before us pause for thought. Just before the passage we heard today in the gospel, Jesus had told them that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things and be killed. And just after this passage, he had repeated this, so also the Son of Man will suffer at their hands. At this point then, the disciples, or at least the specially selected ones, Peter, James and John, who would also be present at the agony in the garden, just before Jesus' arrest, are given some consolation. A reminder that Jesus is the Son of God, the beloved one, and that behind his capacity to suffer and his human limitations is the glory of divinity. The story of the Transfiguration is about Jesus' glory, but that story has continued in the church through the centuries and into our own time, in that we share in his glory. The voice from heaven says, "This is my beloved Son, with whom I am well pleased. Listen to him. He enjoys my favor." But the message for us today is that you are my sons and daughters. You also enjoy my favor. Why? Because my beloved Son has died and risen from the dead for you and for the whole world. We are all now children of God, and this vision of the glorified Christ gives us an insight into our own glorious future. Jesus is not alone in this vision. Moses and Elijah are also there, and not just standing either side of him. The gospel text has, there appeared to them Moses and Elijah talking to him. You will see in the picture of the icon, which I hope you will all have copies of, that Moses and Elijah are leaning into Christ, as if in conversation. Or is it in worship? Should we try to speculate what they are talking about? Or is it just enough to learn the lesson that Jesus is truly on another plane? That the apostles were given a glimpse of him in heaven where time does not rule, and where he can stand with Moses and Elijah or anybody else from the past or the future and speak with them if he wishes. Peter wants to mark this graced moment in some way. I will make 3 tents here. Then the bright cloud overshadows them, and when the vision is over, Jesus makes no mention of the proposed tents and no reference to Moses and Elijah. What he does say is, tell no one the vision until the Son of Man is raised from the dead. St. Peter does refer to the vision later on in the New Testament in his second letter. He writes, "We were eyewitnesses of his majesty. He received honor and glory from God the Father when the voice came to him from the majestic glory, saying, 'This is my Son whom I love. With him I am well pleased.'" St. Peter writes on, "We ourselves heard this voice that came from heaven when we were with him on the mountain." The icon shows that this was indeed a moment of revelation. Indeed, an enormous shock. If you look at the three apostles at the bottom of the picture, the three of them have been literally put off balance. One of them is tumbling downwards, their world turned upside down. The gospel tells us that Jesus has to reassure them, rise and have no fear. The other image on the other side from Ravenna is Karma. The bishop, Apollinaris, looks up to heaven in his piety and is presented with a static picture of a glorious paradise in which the jeweled cross, representing Christ in glory, reigns supreme over the bishop himself and his flock gathered around him. The three sheep, two on one side, one on the other, at the foot of the cross, represent Peter, James, and John. They're not overwhelmed or panicking. They too stand calm and loyal, gazing at the vision, undisturbed by any thoughts of future failure or disappointment.